Hello family, I'm Robert and I'm a real alcoholic.
Hey Robert.
I want to welcome everyone to the Atlanta Step Up Society book study. Change your thinking, change your life. Or better off, change your thinking, Robert, and watch your life change. Alright, let's open with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer. Serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Wait. Water. Check this out. We've been working on the 9th step, doing amends. And I think this is about the 3rd week. But when you get to the step 9, and you start to do amends, which is make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so will injure them or others. Always remember that amends are living amends. It's just not to go in and say, I'm sorry, and then, forget about it. No, these are living amends that we do. So, what I like to do is just to finish up on mine, because we're almost at the end of it. But you must know that inside the book is about 10 pages that specifically will give you instructions on how to do amends. And it did say that when you're doing amends, you're looking for a spiritual experience. Some type of something spiritual should happen or might happen when you're doing amends. Now, I said might. Because if you're doing amends and you're not knowing what you're looking for, it might not happen. But if you're specifically looking for something spiritual, it will have no choice but to show up. That makes sense? And I can prove that over and over and over with every amend that I ever did, even to today. Alright? So what I'm going to do, and you have to go to any length to find the spiritual experience. Any length. Whether you have to go to jail, or have to turn yourself in, or make amends to your enemies, or make financial amends, you go to any length. You don't cut yourself short to do amends. Alright, and what I'm going to do before we get into the book is finish up my amends that I have on the board. Alright, because we're almost at the end of the instruction part that's in the book. Alright, remember I told you we make a list, the 8 step, now, later, maybe, and never. We list the people. Alright, put them in categories as you see fit. But mine was based basically on my financial position. I had no money, so wasn't no point in me trying to pay people back. I was broke. You know what I'm saying? And to become willing to do amends, you do the easy people first. That's how you become willing. You put the easy people down first. You got a brother, you don't owe him nothing, but you did him wrong, do him. You be willing to do him. If you got an uncle that, you stole $4,000 from, and you living in Atlanta Step Up Society, you ain't gonna do him. You're gonna put him down further. So, I guarantee you, if you do, you're gonna pay me some rent. So here's the deal. After you finish the now list, your later list becomes your now list. When you walk down those people, your maybe become your now list. So I'm at my now list, which was my maybe list. That makes sense? So I'm knocking them out. I'm just going to do a few. I'm going to finish up these to see where the spiritual thing came in. Alright? This guy, Ron, I knew him in Washington, D.C. I was homeless in Washington, D.C. He was like assistant pastor for a small church. Him and his wife saw me in the park bench. He used to come out and eat lunch at the park bench. He heard my story, knew I'm from Atlanta, and allowed me to stay in his house before I got treatment there. Okay? When I went to his house, I ended up stealing some money and going and using it. And then, then he was looking for the money and everything. I never admitted it. And so, eventually I just left his house. I never did admit that I stole it. So to make a long story short, I was in recovery and I was living here. I was living here in Atlanta. I had this thrift store. I had maybe 4 years clean. I had to go downtown for something. And when I was walking downtown, I heard somebody call my name. And it was Ron. He had a little boy with him. Now see, when I left him in the D.C. area, there wasn't no child. It was just him and his wife. I saw him downtown with a little boy and a backpack. He told me that he had got divorced. He was going home. I guess his home was in Florida. He had no money. He wasn't with the church no more. I think him and the pastor and his wife was having an affair. He was stuck in Atlanta, and he was living in a shelter. I brought him up to this thrift store, gave him and his son some clothes. I allowed him to work here for a couple of days. I bought his bus fare ticket on the Greyhound to Florida, all right, and gave him some money. And I made my amends. This amend here was one of those wherevers, and not a whenever. I had no conception whatsoever that I was going to see this man, but he was on my list. Wherever was downtown Atlanta, and I brought him here and made amends and made sure he got home with finances and everything. That was spiritual to me. I was able to pay back what somebody had paid back to me. What had done for me, I did for him. Alright? So I was able to scratch him off. So that's an example of wherever. I had no idea where this man was on the planet. It just happened to cross paths. I could have now. He was on the other side of the street. I could have ignored him and kept on walking. However, he was on my amends list, and I did the right thing. The next one, that's spiritual. The next one was Sears. I owed Sears exactly $3,000. $3,000. For years, they would find me and try to collect me. All you have to do is get a job and your Social Security number and fill out one of them W-2s or something. Here they come, like vultures. And I owed them. Then it stopped for a little while. I was here in recovery. I had Sears. I had every intention of paying Sears back. My daughter was graduating from high school in Philadelphia. She had wrote me, and I asked her, what did you want for a graduation present? She sent me this article from the classified section from Sears. It was a computer. It cost $2,999. Exactly what I owed Sears. I had been in the program for a little while. I had about 1 or 2 credit cards. I had a gas card, and I think I had Rich's downtown. My sponsor told me, go down there and apply. I said, but I owe them money. He said, are you a believer? I said, yes, I'm a believer. He said, go down there and try. For some reason, every time there was fear in me, when I had to go do something that pushed me out of my comfort zone, I always took my mother with me. You know, just in case it was a little bit shaky. So I wasn't 100% faithful, because I knew she could swipe hers. You know? So what I did was, we went down to Sears. I applied for that computer. I knew I owed them $3,000. I applied for the computer. Fill out the application. The manager of the store in the electronical department was there. I guess he looked at me and figured that I might not be able to pay it. All right? Or he saw another customer that was more rewarding, had a better sale than mine. He left me with a brand new salesperson that day. He said, this person will take care of you. And the lady was saying, like, she was a young lady, I don't know what to do. He said, I'll just call it in. And he took off. So there she was and there I was. She started calling. After I filled out the application for the computer, she started calling. It took like 45 minutes. I was just praying and praying, you know, like praising God and thy will be done and, you know, all kind of stuff. 45 minutes had passed and she came over to me with some papers. She said, Mr. Barber, sign here. You've been approved. What? You have been approved. I signed it. Boxed that thing up and hit the door. They approved me for exactly the same amount of money that I owed them. Came back and shared it. My sponsor said, when God has done for you what you couldn't do for yourself, that's it. It don't take no logic, no reasoning. None of your senses don't have to get involved in it. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to go back and add and subtract. None of that matters when you're dealing with spirituality. All those things do is block you from being spiritual. I walked out of that, never turned back, never asked, never nothing. Then I paid them off. Then straight with Sears. I bought a lot of stuff from Sears since then. They let me back in. I done it right then. I bought treadmills, exercise, bicycles, paint. You know what I'm trying to say? Siding, doors, lumber. I bought a lot from Sears and done it right. But what I refused to do was put my own logic, my own reasoning into that miracle. I let it go. I can scratch them off. That was spiritual. SunTrust. Bad checks. I bounced checks on SunTrust. Borrowed some money from them. It wasn't $3,000. But I didn't have no more account. They had closed it. My name was still there and Social Security was there. One time I was going up, I was like in the 5th step. I was feeling good about myself. I wasn't making amends. I was in the 5th step. But I had done enough step work to know that the amends are coming. You know what I'm trying to say? When you're doing the work, you know that your amends are proceeding. They're on their way. You're going to have to make amends when you're doing all this 4th step. You can see it. And your 5th step. So here I go. I was feeling good and I was working for Goodwill. And in Goodwill industry, I was a manager. So every day I had to go into SunTrust to make deposits. And every time I went in there to do the deposits, in my mind it would say, open up your account. Open up your account. One day I went in there and my mind got the best of me. I said, I'm going to go stand in line to open up an account. So I went over there. I did the business for Goodwill. I went over there and I was about to open up an account. And something in my mind, my head said, it's not time. You're only on the 5th step. Don't try to make amends now. I pulled out of the line and left. Time later, when I was doing my amends, SunTrust was on it. I was going in to pay SunTrust or inquire. That's all I was going to do. I wasn't going to pay them. I was just trying to find out where I stood. You know what I'm trying to say? With the finances. Now, I go in there. I had a $100 bill just in case I could get one. I always open up my account with $100 bills. If a $100 bill would get me an account. I knew that. I didn't go with $10, $15, always $100. So I walk in there with a $100 bill. It's on my amend list, right where it is, right here. I go in there and I got in line, gave him my ID, told him I would like to open up an account. It didn't take long. 30 minutes later, the lady said, this is your lucky day. I said, I'm going to give her. And she said, you've been approved. You can't open up an account here. I said, okay. I got $100 to deposit. She said, no. Today's special is we give you $100 and put in your account. My God. We give you $100 to put into your account for opening it up today. And they would deposit $100 in my account for me signing up.
I already knew from Sears. I don't have to question this. I don't have to drive back and say, did y'all make a mistake? That makes sense? Is this right or wrong? You know, when you're dealing with spirituality, none of that matters. That kind of thinking got me over them. You let go and let God. We're talking about some deep stuff if you're catching what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It ain't your senses no more. It's not your logic no more. It ain't even you. Gone. Still got the Sun Trust account, same account number, 20 years later at the same bank. They send me money. It's a line of credit. All you have to do is sign your signature. Easy. IRS. Scared to death. I told y'all about that. Went right down there, turned myself in. It was a lot less than I believed. Married my wife. I was expunged. They took her money and paid mine. And I have always been, when you're in small business, you're always dealing with the IRS. That's just the bottom line. I've always dealt with the IRS. My taxes, they said I owed them, they ended up owing me. We go back and forth all the time. But there's one thing that's not there: fear. There's no fear in it. It's like playing a good game of chess. There's no fear. I pay them, they pay me. Back and forth, no big deal. It's a part of our society. That makes sense? I'm not running from the IRS. Dead people. I had people who had passed away. Most of my family is not too far from here in the cemetery. They're my relatives. What I did was, everybody that I knew that was in that cemetery that I could remember, I wrote them a letter. Now I got this from my sponsor. I wrote them a letter. I went down to Lincoln Cemetery, right? And I went inside, and they have like a book, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you know, like you going down for foreclosure at the courthouse, the big book. I went in there and I found their names. Might be on computer now. I wouldn't think it's on the computer now. And they give you maps of where they are. You know, and my sponsor told me to pack a lunch. And you're going to have to pack a lunch. If you got a lot of people out there, because I had to walk. I didn't have no automobile. I caught the bus there, you know what I'm saying? And I walked the cemetery with my map. And I found my great-great-grandfather, my uncle, and I made amends to all of them. To all of them. And then I burnt the paper right there in the cemetery and left. And the ones I didn't do, that they didn't know where they were and they had a pass, I did from chair to chair. I put an empty chair in front of me and did amends. So I got those out the way. And I've been making amends ever since. You don't have to do everything I did. But my point is that they are living amends. That makes sense? It's not something that I shied away from. I literally did this stuff. You know, I know we go to a lot of meetings. I know we hear a lot of people talk about the 9th step. But I ain't heard too many people tell you what they did. They tell you there is a 9th step. But they ain't going to tell you what they did. Because they ain't do nothing. Hello? They ain't do that stuff. I know they didn't. Because nobody told you that God's going to do for you what you can't do for yourself. And you don't have to do nothing about it. He fixes it for you. That's when you know you're a man of faith. When they say let go and let God, and you still trying to analyze it, where's the God in that? Where? You haven't went to any length. That makes sense? You haven't went to any length to find those spiritual experience. Right when the spiritual experience might have happened, you took over. You don't have to live like that. You don't have to live like that. God can fix all of this for you. then you know it's your job to carry the message. Now, I'm not carrying the message for ego. If I use my ego, I'd be filthy rich and buckhead on the top floor in the finance building. I can guarantee you that one. I guarantee you. I can walk right by every homeless person, every recovery person, say, hell with it, I got mine. People do it. Come in treatment, get that 90 days, get clean and sober, holler in the next life. They don't care. But that's not me. All right, let's go to the book. We're going to go down where it says, back to page 82, the alcoholic is like a tornado. See?
The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead. Affections have been uprooted. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. He's like the farmer who came up out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?"
All right, let's break that one down. We kind of hit on it last week. All right, now my goal last week was kind of to allow people, especially people in treatment, to understand that if you have not worked on yourself, you haven't done these steps, and you trying to leave treatment to go back to your family or go get in a relationship, that might not be the right thing to do. Somebody need to tell you why you need to stay put. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So here you go. The alcoholic is like a tornado. I don't see a lot of tornadoes on because they got a weather channel now where people don't do nothing but follow tornadoes. They follow them. In fact, they're not really following them, they're almost in them. And they show you what's going on from the inside. I ain't never seen a pretty one where nothing was destroyed. They be like, "Oh, wow, you see that house? Wow, you see that bus?" You know, that's how the show is. Am I right?
Yeah.
Whoa! That's what they'll be talking. They're talking like that. Whoa! Look at that bus! You know what I'm saying? Wow! That whole roof flew off. That's the show. You know? So there's nothing in there that's not been demolished, tore down. Alright? So they say that the alcoholic is like a tornado, roaring his way through the lives of others. Whoa! Look at that pretty girl right there. Devastated. Whoa! Look at that football career. Gone. You know what I'm trying to say? Whoa! Look at that entertainer walking homeless. Whoa! Look at the preacher with the little boys. Whoa! Tornado. Tearing up stuff. Tearing up some things. You know what I'm trying to say? Oh, look at grandma smoking crack with her grandchildren. You know? It said hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted. Here's the deal. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. Today I was talking with a friend. Her and I were talking about habits. Habits. The alcoholic and the addict. Let's say you were homeless, and most of us were. I'm going to use myself. When I was homeless, I was talking with a friend about this. My habits were things like eating out of trash cans. We eat some Popeye's chicken and I pulled the skin, what I call the crackling part. And then I remember when I used to be homeless, I used to jump in the dumpsters at midnight when they closed the store to get that because they throw it away. Pizzas. So when I got clean and sober, see, when I was doing that, in my mind, in my psyche, I had developed a way of thinking that it made no sense to walk into a restaurant through the front door and pay for food when all you had to do is wait till they put it in the dumpster and get it for free. I thought everybody who paid for food was stupid. Who paid for food? You can get the same food. They throw away 25 pieces every night. You can fill yourself up and sell them. And they be fresh. That's my thinking. That's a bad habit. People have all kind of habits that were inconsiderate. Buying sex, stealing from the job. People get a job, stay 2 weeks, and quit the job because somebody said something about it. Sleeping, getting so drunk that you fall asleep and can't make it to work. Well, my point is there's a long list, conning people, deceiving people. There's all type of bad habits that go with alcoholism and drug abuse. Now here's the thing. This is where it gets crossed up. From my experience of being in this field for a long period of time, and my experience from my life, that we are not only addicted to alcohol and drugs, we are also addicted to that lifestyle, to those habits. Those are addictions also. So here's the deal. When we get clean and sober, we say, oh, I'm all right. I just don't have to do no dope. That's the biggest lie ever told. You not all right. You were buying sex for 20 years. What makes you think because you ain't drinking, you won't stop? You've been stealing for 25 years just because you are not picking up a crap pipe. You gonna stop stealing? No way. You've been eating out of dumpsters, hear me, for so long that I had money in my pocket in the treatment center, walk by the soup line and stand in it. Put $50 in my pocket. I used to pick up cigarette butts off the ground and going in and out of the subways. When people go to work, they trying to catch the train, they just dump it right there. It'd be this long. That was a blessing. I wanted a little bud, I get them big long ones. And I would get them. I used to walk and look on the ground so much trying to find dimes and nickels and stuff like that, that I always looked down. Look down. I never forget. Me and my wife, we were courting. You know, this years ago. I had maybe 1 year clean, year and a half. And we going out on a date up on Peachtree Street. I'm taking her to a little restaurant or something like that. I'm looking on the ground. She would ask me, what are you looking on the ground for? Then I went on and told her, I've been doing that for 20 years. So my sponsor had me to, when I walk, to take my own hand and push my head up to break the addiction. Push it up. Look up. Stop looking on the ground. Oh. So here's the deal. I hear people in the meetings all the time. Just don't do dope. Come on, y'all. Don't tell nobody that. Just don't do alcohol. Stay clean and sober just for the day. Yes, you have to stay clean and sober to do the reconstruction that's ahead. But don't make nobody think or believe that that's the answer. That's the first miracle. Sobriety is the first miracle. There are millions after that. There's millions after that. So right here, it tells you right here in this book, you're a tornado. You are a tornado. Then this fool said, no, this is what the book said, the 100 men and women in the program. We feel a man is unthinking. That means inconsiderate. Kind of stupid. Not thinking at all when he says sobriety is enough. That's out the book. That ain't Robert. That's out of the book. If you say sobriety is enough, you unthinking. You were just a tornado last year. Now, sobriety is enough. Come on now. Let me give you a little example.
Yeah.
He is like the farmer. Now, a farmer do a lot of work. That's hard working now. I had a little tomato thing in my backyard. Few tomato plants. Let's get real. Some peppers. I had tomatoes, bell peppers, yellow peppers, the stuff you can buy at Home Depot. You know, the kind of simple to grow. Some okra, and maybe some green beans. 10 by 10. I tilted up myself. Every night I was out there. I said, after this year, I'll never do this again. Every night you have to go out there. You have to pick the weeds, and you have to do this. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure no bugs on them. And then when they start to growing, you got to go get it off, because they grow fast. Once they start, they be going fast. Right? That would work. That was a lot of work. That was my little 10 by 10. What you think about real farmers? That's a lot of hard work. That's how America was built, on that hard work. I don't know computer. He is like a farmer who came up out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. The tornado came through and tore up everything. To his wife he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Mom. Ain't it grand? The wind stopped blowing." Mom said, "Hell no."
I ain't drinking tonight.
You know, I ain't drinking the toy, but everything that you done tore up in your drinking career.
But ain't nothing wrong.
You know what I'm
I ain't
saying?
drinking.
So what happens is, all this stuff going on, right? And what happens is you kind of like think that since you're clean and sober, that thing's all right. No, that's a good beginning. I never take anything away from sobriety, because we have to be sober in order to do the rest. But don't come into a treatment center and not do no work on yourself. Just grab sobriety and take your tornado butt over to somebody else and let it loose. That's inconsiderate. That makes sense? You ain't ready. Next paragraph.
Yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fit the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love.
Yes, there's a long period of reconstruction ahead, and that's what we're talking about. Reconstructing our lives. All them bad habits that we had going on for all this long time, all this kind of stuff, we have to now do reconstruction. And it says that we must take the lead. What that means is, if I must take the lead, what they're really telling me is I must work on myself. If I can't manage my own feelings, how am I going to manage someone else's? I can't manage my feelings, now I'm going to get in a relationship with you and help you manage yours. That's crazy. So I must take the lead in my own reconstruction. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. Oh, I'm sorry I did this, I'm sorry I did that. No. It says right here, we ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze, or honestly analyze the past as we see it now. Being very careful not to criticize them. Even when you're making amends and you with your family and whatever, you don't want to just sit down and always criticize what they did. Because it's about me fixing me. That makes sense? It says that their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. You know, I have a daughter, and I always used to say, boy, she's like a born liar. She always make up stories, like fantasize, you know, about stuff. Always making up stories. I think I told this once before. And I was over my mother's house, and we were talking, right? And I was saying, you know, she do this, and she make up that, and she make up this, and she's always fantasizing about this. I said, she just always lied. My mother said, do you know where she got that from? I said, no. She was born like that. She said, nah, she got that from you. I said, what do you mean? She told me when I was out doing my thing and my daughter was a little girl, every time my daughter got some money, whether my brother gave it to her or somebody gave it to her, she would start fantasizing about how her daddy did it. She would tell folk that when she got a little hair braided and got some new shoes, that I gave her the money. I came and saw her. And her daddy did this and her daddy did that. My mom said she got that from your butt for not being around in her life. So she used to make up stories pretending that you was there. There it was. So I was partly responsible for that. Does that make sense? When my father was such an alcoholic that he used to be outside in front of the house, butt naked, laying in the grass. All the kids in the neighborhood would run over there after get out the school bus to see my father so they could join me and my brother. It was so bad that I remember every time I filled out anything with an address, I would put 2851 Bob White Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30311. That's not the real address now. So I would put that address down simply because that wasn't my home address. That was my aunt and uncle that I loved, who had a more responsible family. He wasn't an alcoholic. I never put down my mom address. Who did that to me? Me or my father's alcoholism? My father's alcoholism. This is a family disease. We pass it from one to the next generation. That makes sense? These glaring defects. It says that, so we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love. So you know they're trying to tell us that we're going to have to meditate. Every morning we're going to do something that's coming up out of the nation.
The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone.
You know what? Let me explain something to you. So, I was talking to some people not too long ago, and they was telling me, they were like, yo, they were really highly educated. Now, I finished college, and they were saying, talking about education and proper English, you know what I'm saying, and grammar and all this, and they asked me, how do you do your class? I said, raw, butt naked raw. I don't know if it's English or not. I said, but what I can do, that what you probably can't do, is you're a textbook type person. All I'm doing is explaining, to the best of my ability, my own experience, strength, and hope. How I live. I don't know if you can. I'm not so sure I can put it in proper English. But if I can get one person to hear my experience and it changes their experience, then I've done my job, whether I went to English school or not. That's all it's about. Explaining my experience, strength, and hope. I'm not worrying about where was it a propositional phrase or not. I can care less. I don't care if it's a noun or a pronoun. It's not what it's about. It's about me sharing my experience, strength, and hope in this book, allowing this book to become alive. What good is the word on the page if they can't keep you clean and sober? The word don't mean nothing. The book will stay clean and sober and my ass be drunk. It's not about the words. Alright. The spiritual life is not a theory. I already explained that in here, didn't I? It's a zone, you're right. It's a zone where you cross over into the invisible. It's kind of like the Tao. Everything that is materialized or object, no matter what it is, there's nothing you can ever think of, nothing you can ever see that's being that came and was brought out into the world without coming from the non-being. Everything comes from nothingness. That makes sense? It's the nothingness that has the power. Everything comes from nothingness. So this spiritual life is not a theory. It's not something that's what I'm joking about. You can put it to the test. When we start talking about prayer and meditating, you can do this yourself. My whole life and anybody's life is themselves pushed out. How you think is what's on the outside. If you think poor, you're going to be what? Poor. It's nothing wrong with you saying, you know, I'm tired of this. Let me try something different. Let me think bigger. Let me think grand. Stop looking for the outside to change you. It's the inside that makes the change. I'll give you one example. The other day, this is a theory of a spiritual life. I was going for a grant, small grant. I had it for 3 years. I'm not going to use no names. I had it for 3 years. The last time I went for the grant, the people told me, you know, we're going to give you this money, but this will be the last time. Because we're going to move on and give to other people. I heard it, but I knew this light that we got. I said, okay. It went in one ear and out the other one. You don't understand. I control the grant system, not you. You know what I'm saying? My life. Because I create my own destiny. So I go in there this time, but 2 weeks ago I started. Every night, right before I went to bed, I asked myself this: what would it feel like to be in that man's office? And he's telling me, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, we're going to give you this. I assumed the feeling. And then right before I go to sleep, I'm talking about right when I'm ready to pass out, right then and there. When I cross over into the subconscious world, when I go to sleep, right then and there, I start assuming the feeling that I got the money. So I come up with a little scenario. It wasn't big. I come up with the scenario that I'm in his office. He's telling me that they need to step up society to do this, to do that, and to do this. And we're going to give you money because we need you to go forward and expand. And this is a huge place, you know, big. I'm like a drop in the bucket compared to them. Every night I assume that position and I would fall asleep with it. No fear whatsoever. I turn it over, let go, let God. I go right up there, right to that man office. He comes right in, and right before I go to sleep, I would shake his hand. I would make that feeling come alive, you know? I would shake his hand right when I go to sleep at night. I would shake his hand. Thank you. I go right into this man office about 3 days ago. He comes right in. So I don't have a lot of time. I've been real busy. But we need you, Mr. Barber, to do this, to do that, and to that. Because we're thinking about expanding. I'm going to give you some money. Shook my hand. Spiritual life. You don't have to take my word for this. Try it yourself. Everything starts in your own wonderful, beautiful imagination. There's nothing we imagine using. You sit right before you go to sleep at night knowing you're going to get paid that next morning, you go to plot. Exactly what you're going to do. Wake up that next morning and follow it to the T. Why you can't do that with a sober life? That's what the promises. We get to the promises. Spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it, y'all. We have to make living amends. We got to start living this type of life. All right. Unless one family experiences a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not urge them. The spiritual principles are the principles behind the steps. There's a list of them. All right. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness will make a skeptic out of anyone. In a nutshell, recovery is like contagious. If you do what you're supposed to do and going around your family and doing what you're supposed to do, eventually they'll start doing it too. You know what I'm trying to say? When I got clean and sober, let's just go back to the sobriety part. I was clean and sober. 3 years later, my brother got clean and sober. And about 3 years after that, my father got clean and sober. Those two are deceased now, but each one of them had over 10 years when they died. Clean and sober. That makes sense? It's contagious. All I did was went to meetings. I wasn't trying to drag them with me. In my mind, I kind of figured out like this. Attraction rather than promotion. That's what y'all told me. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. They want it, they'll come in. So you're going to be a living example for them. That makes sense? Not nothing I had to beat somebody about it over the head with no words. Because they listen to me when I was getting high. And what makes you think they're going to listen to me now? I better show them. All right, the next one.
There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. And there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases. But we don't delay it if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scrappy. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone.
There may be some wrongs. Alright? Some wrongs. We can never fully right. Alright? That might be. But I try to put everything I could on the list, right? But I knew for a fact when people, I'm going to use dead, people who had, now there were some people that I owed money to. I couldn't pay no dead man, you know, the money. And I don't think I was willing to pay his family now, because it wasn't no family issue, you know what I'm saying? So I couldn't really fully repay him with material stuff, you know what I mean? But I could say I'm sorry through my letter and find another good way to do something for what I did wrong. Alright? So it says that we don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. There's been cases where I have had to try, like on my list, I can't remember, it wasn't but a few, that I knew that I probably thought at the time that I would never run across these people. But as years start coming and coming and coming and coming, I did run across them. This world ain't that big. And I made amends. Sometimes it was like just to say I'm sorry. They passing through, I'm passing through, they're at the airport, they going to a plane, I'm going to a plane, I see them, bam, I'm sorry for what I did. Man, don't worry about it, bam, I got to catch a plane. There wasn't no time to try to make amends, you know what I'm trying to say? And go through the drama and all that. Both of us said we sorry and kept moving. And that was it. Alright. I want to get to this part. Some people cannot be seen. Let's just say that with passed on a dead people. Now, I always thought that once we die, that's it. You're either going to go to heaven or you're going to go to hell. I used to think like that. And a lot of people still do. I think most people still do. But as I start getting more spiritual, I kind of like start finding my way kind of around that thinking. You know, I could not see how it just didn't fit my thinking. It's the bottom line. I kind of feel now that each and every last person has the Spirit of God in them. We come into, when I was in my mother's womb, underwater, let's get real. You know you're inside a womb. You underwater. And you eating under there, you moving under there, you swashing around. You know, the people tell me there ain't no mermaid. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Sound like a mermaid to me. But you're underwater. Alright. I know my mother can't make eyeballs and ears and you know what I'm trying to say, and this and feet and toenails and hair. But there was something, a spiritual, universal power that was forming me in my mama's womb. After that, I'm out now. Seemed like the entire universe was taking care of me. My mama was feeding me, right? And changing my diaper. But she wasn't breathing for me. She wasn't seeing for me. She wasn't hearing for me. She wasn't growing my hair for me. The only thing she was doing was feeding me and changing diapers and washing me. So, all through my life, seemed like to me, I've been dying and reborn all my life. When I got to be 3 years old, that little baby that was in my mama's womb, it's gone. It's gone. I can never go back in my mother's womb. That little baby that was, my mother was, father was feeding and changing the diaper for and holding. Now that I'm 3 years old, I cannot return back to that little baby. When I got 14, 15, adolescent, whatever, teenager, I'm not that 3-year-old kid. I can't revert my body, go back to that toddler. When I got 21, I wasn't that 16-year-old kid. Seemed like to me, in each phase, something would die, something would grow. You know what I'm trying to say? You gotta die and grow. Die and grow. At 40, I wasn't a 25-year-old Robert. I can't return, I thought I could, but you can't return back to the 25-year-old. So it seemed like to me, my whole time, my body been dying and regrowing, going through different phases all the time. And then when I'm 70, 80, 90 and passed off the scene, whatever was there from the very beginning that was constant, there was something constant the whole time. I was going through that physical phase. There was a power in me that was greater than me, making that change with me. And I believe when my flesh go back to the dirt, I believe it's me that my body belongs to the earth. It's the earth body. But that spirit that was there from every one of them phases, when I was up underwater, all the way through those phases, return back to source. It has to go somewhere. But this little body is worthless to me. It means nothing. That makes sense? It's just a temple or just a tool for that spirit to use. That makes sense? So to me, that's how it is. So when I got the people now, some people cannot be seen. I couldn't see their physical body, but I believe I was talking to their spirit, because I believe that we all had that spirit in them. I just believe that now. Now I'm not saying we all woke and know it, but I believe we all had it. All right. So it says right here, we send them an honest letter. That's why I got the letter about. Write in the book. Sit down and write an honest letter. Alright. And there may be a valid reason to postpone in some cases, but we do not delay. No, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, humble without being severe. That means feeling less than, or scrappy, harsh or aggravating. Here it is. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We do not crawl before anyone. I'm going to take these last few minutes and just tell you, when we get to the promises, you know why we're going to the meeting and we read the promises? The promises are at the end of the 9th step. They're at the end of the 9th step. They're not even in the 10th step. They're at the end of the 9th step. So if you like going to meetings and you reading the promises and you're saying to yourself, this stuff fear people and economic insecurity is leaving me. And if that is, let's say you haven't done no steps and you got 2 years clean, 1 year clean, and you see this happening in your life and you have not worked the step. Imagine what your life might be if you did do the steps. Imagine what might happen to you if you did do the steps. This spiritual life that we live is the most beautiful thing that I have ever seen. There's nothing that can touch it on this planet. Nothing. It teaches you how to pray. It teaches you how to allow God to work in your life, and you don't have to do anything but hold your hands in your pockets. That's all you got to do. It will work. It teaches you how to have nothing but pure happiness in you, no matter what. If you're going through a divorce, no matter what, you still can maintain happiness. If you lose your job, you still can be at peace. If your damn telephone get cut off, you still at peace. That's what this thing is about. It ain't about running around here trying to hustle no more and trying to make this work and try to make that work. We can do that another way with our imagination. The creative power of the universe, the creative power of the universe, the same way that God created everything, He gave us that power. It's in us. It's not outside of us. It's in us. The book says God is in each and every last one of us. Sometimes we have to search, but only there will He be found. Thank y'all for being with me.
Thank you.